Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back with our Friday feature. We have an epic replay for you guys today. It starts a little bit late. Van Demonian emailed me this replay. I'm not exactly sure if he has a channel. Van, if you're watching this, please post a comment and a link to your channel, or just a comment, and I will try and pin that comment, and you guys click and follow his channel. Part of the reason I started doing this is to get some other content creators out there, like we mentioned in last week's video. So go ahead and give these guys a follow. I remember being a smaller channel myself and just putting a lot of effort in, for minimal results until a few people shouted me out. So, but Van started this game a little bit late here, around the 13:26 mark there. He's already in the cap. This is domination on Tears of the Desert. And if I'm being quite honest, his team's positioning in the beginning is very good. They have two destroyers going towards the center cap. They have a few flanks on the left flank there, and his ships are following him into the sea cap here. And Van is doing the correct thing. He's slowly edging this corner here, capping the point here. Now, I'm not sure why he smoked up. That smoke would have been a little bit more useful later, but regardless of that, he is in the Monaghan, which is one of those hybrid tier 5 destroyers. It has good torpedoes, but in trade you lose a gun there, so you lose a little bit of DPM. But regardless of that, just pay attention to how quickly his team dies. It is rather impressive. I feel like this game was captured after 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because you guys saw it last night. I'm just done playing solo after that time. It's just, there's no point. But regardless, this game, could serve as a lesson to you guys, like I tried to do last night. Never give up. We had a game where we almost pulled it back, but the team was just too bad, as the Monaghan, or I'm sorry, the Gnevany goes down to the Monaghan there. So he should have known those torps were coming, but regardless. Also, this game teaches us a few lessons about positioning and getting the capture points. I don't know what is so difficult for people to understand in their destroyer about getting the capture points. The only reason Van wins this game is because he gets these capture points. So pay attention to that throughout the game. So as we always say, play smarter, not harder. But Van has got his capture point on his side here. He's going back into the middle. The reason he's doing that is to defend against the aggressive push from the enemy team. If you'll notice, all of their ships are basically in a 4 or 5 square radius there between A and B. And if we're talking about strategy, it is an absolute losing strategy. And their team does lose, but Van's friendly team here actually does a better job of throwing, per se. When an enemy team does this, if you're on the weak side, per se, like if you're at A there, don't just YOLO into that push. Kite that push away, get the capture points, so that way the enemy team has to push into you. It is very easy to get these higher damage, better scores when you get these capture points, because it forces the enemy to come into you. If they don't come into you and get into the capture point, they lose the game. When they're in the capture point, you know exactly where they are, which is why I always try to get the capture points first. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out like that, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Van is throwing some zoning torps rather at this donkey. These torps on the Monaghan are very slow, so you will get a lot of misses unless you're really close, and that's kind of why I have a little bit of the. We joke about my torpedo accuracy as I throw long-range zoning torps, and by the time your torps get there, the enemy has made so many adjustments that that's why you will often miss. If you look at my Pommern, for example, if you have a higher than like 10% torpedo accuracy and you main destroyers, you're getting far too close, in my opinion. That, or you're not throwing enough zoning torps. But here's a perfect example of that. Van threw those torps fairly short, but by the time they got there, that donkey has made multiple maneuvers, and there is a hit and a flood on the bow. I think that was a popped damage con, I'm not exactly sure, but you can see him positioning very intelligently here in this little gap and backing up while still getting a shot off for free. Now this donkey is moving in as his team is already down 4 ships. Just in a, it's so, I know there are multiple individual games going on, and you're only experiencing the game from one perspective, but last night we had a game and all of my team died in like 2 minutes. I just don't understand how everyone can die so quickly. If you're not doing well in this game, just try to make an objective to live. And when I say that, people just take it as like, oh, sail to the back of the map. That's not what I mean, right? Angle your armor. Don't get detected right away in a destroyer. Don't sail broadside in a cruiser. Utilize island cover. But anyway, Van gets his first kill on the donkey there. So I want to preach a few of these lessons, because in these games, people think, wow, I mean, and Van is an incredible player, but it's like, wow, I could never do that. And yes, you could. With how, absent-minded the player base is, I have gotten 20. I got a solo warrior in the Montana, and that video is on my channel because I understood the game and I understood what needed to happen, and that's what Van does in this game. So, but enough preaching here. We'll go back to the game. You can see that his team is flanked pretty far out on A. His two battleships continue to push through C. I would have, if this is competitive or I had, those guys in a division, I would have spread them out. The more you can spread out, the more angles and crossfires you can get, and that is 100% a winning strategy in this game. It is absolutely a losing strategy to put all of your ships in one square, it's just frustrating when I try to do that and then the teammates follow you. But there goes the Nikolai, the first down, and Van is now down to 4 ships. So just in less than half the time there. Like we said in I think it was yesterday's or Wednesday's video, if you're not surviving past the 7-minute mark, obviously circumstances vary, but if you're not surviving that long, you need to readjust your strategy. You should be trying to survive to the 7-minute mark, and that's usually, right now is the point in the game when a lot of these games are determined. But you can see that there are so many ships there still at A, and that one ship at A is doing his best to kite away from that situation. But because that Normandy is chasing these ships, Van is able to get a few shots on him while still maintaining a defensive position. You can see that he's kiting around here. Now this shot was a little risky, but RNG saved him just a touch. 1 or 2 overpens. And because he is angling away and not just YOLO rushing him, I feel like a lot of players in this situation, destroyer players, would have YOLO rush that Normandy. And that's just not the play. So many, we had the game with in the Drake last night where Shima rushed a Yamato. That should never, in the history of Legends, ever go to the Yamato, right? Our Shima YOLO rushes a Yamato and dies without even killing him. Use your concealment. It is a huge, talking point in this game is destroyer concealment, so use it to your advantage. But anyway, Van is doing an excellent job of trying to reset this Normandy and make sure he doesn't die as his Aoba goes down. So now there are only 3 ships versus the enemy's 6. But here Van popped his smoke screen and he's DPMing this Normandy, aiming at superstructure as I would have done. I probably would have switched AP at that range. AP could potentially pen the superstructure, but potentially even the upper belt and a few parts of the bow and stern there. But the Andrea Doria comes in with the absolute yoink and kill secure, so a shout out to him. And that's when I say don't worry about kills, guys. That kill in that situation is not important. It's more important that Van defended the capture point there and didn't allow the Normandy to capture it. And got the ship off the board. So people are like, oh, that's my kill. It doesn't matter. It's guns off the board. Now, there are definitely some people recently kill securing, but at the end of the day, who cares? Krakens are cool. They're nice medals. You should not be aiming for that every game. I feel like we set this unrealistic standard as community contributors, and I'm definitely guilty of it, and Krakens are certainly fun games, as this one is, but you should just be aiming for 1 to 2 kills, a few capture points, a few defends, and doing your, maintaining your ship's role. Van was spotting for his team. He is capping here, and he actually pulls out a pretty clutch finish. But the Mahan is spotted here, and Van makes a very risky play, but he has to make it, right? If this Mahan goes dark or survives and is an intelligent player and, potentially lives at the end of the game, gets the capture points, Van has no chance. So he has to shoot here, but he's doing it intelligently by utilizing this island cover here. So, but it looks like Van went to the Aaron School of Torping and decides to miss a few torps. But there goes the Andrea Doria, and it is now a 2-on-5. But Van does end up getting the capture point here, which is essential if you pay attention to the end of the game here. If you'll notice, they are not that far behind on points, and that is because Van got that capture point early, and his friendlies actually did do a decent job, in delaying the enemy getting A. The Mahan shoots for some reason here, I'm not sure why. It does cause Van to be detected, but these are typical battleship mains on the enemy team, and they want nothing to do with a destroyer. Van is detected here. There is that New Mexico behind him. He does angle well against this Piotr, and the Piotr turns in, I'm guessing, to either dodge torps or I'm not sure. And because Van has his last remaining battleship in B, that does save him a few salvos, as you can see, a battleship from range lobbing over a destroyer to shoot another battleship. Battleship mains complain the most, and then they do the least. The Piotr does shoot a Van here, but thanks to dispersion, I think that was a shot or potential secondaries. I'm pretty sure it was a shot, but RNG, possibly saved him there. By that's just how shells group and sometimes land. While it is frustrating, it is something that we all experience. Here was a risky turn, but he wanted to get these torpedoes off on the New Mexico here, and I don't blame him. And as the Normandy goes down, just in a flaming heap of nothingness. But as you guys can see, it is now a 1v4. It is solo warrior time. Now, these next moments here are pretty incredible. Van decides to shoot, and if I'm being honest, a few of these battleships were paid actors, but he does everything correct here to get these kills and maintain the caps. You can see the Fubuki shooting from concealment there, at which point the Piotr comes around shooting, getting one overpen there as Van gets a beautiful set of torpedoes. Always, yes, the Aaron School of Torping pays off once again. He turns back in, though, and he's actually up on capture points. I don't know if I would have made the same play here, but because those battleships are so far out of position, and for some reason I think the Fubuki was, trying to gunboat instead of trying to, most Fubukis will out-conceal most Monahans. But regardless of that, Van throws some torps, some more guesswork torps at this Piotr as he turns away from that New Mexico. So a smart play here. He's keeping them in range, defending the cap. I would have played it a little bit more passive, but again, he's up on points. How important is it to get these capture points? How many more times do I have to say it? But Van stops in the cap here. He's I think he's just watching the fruits of his labor at this point. The Piotr beached, and because Van obviously went to Aaron School of Torping and threw some good zoning torps here, the Piotr is SOL. So that is 2 torps on him and a good night. Thanks for playing. At which point the Fubuki pops up, and I'm a little bit of a miss throw here. If he would have potentially aimed that a touch better, he could have got the double strike. But down goes the Piotr, and down goes the Fubuki. Missed the double strike, but gets the high caliber and the Kraken, and that is game. So, yep, GG's, thanks for playing. That is the Kraken, high caliber, nice little dev strike. He missed the double strike there, and down goes the Fuso. Now, the next minute and a half, as you can see, since Van is up on points, is just him running. There is no reason for him to shoot at this point, and honestly, I have seen destroyers, I've seen players throw a game like this because they literally don't understand numbers. They failed, like, what, 3rd grade math? What did they teach us? The alligator hands? The alligator is bigger on the left here, which is Van's points, than it is on the right. So you just understanding the game. And I know that this is not, I myself take the game a little bit too seriously, and some people, take it way too seriously. But I equate it to pickup basketball, right? If you're going to, like, your local YMCA, it's like you still try to win, right? Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, but throwing a game intentionally or just being, useless, it's like you wouldn't go to your local YMCA, pick up the basketball, and start sprinting across the court, right? Not dribbling, kicking the ball. At the YMCA I used to work out at, or the UCF gym I used to go to, you would have been beat up, right? You would have had some people took it way too seriously. And I equate the same thing to Legends. Yeah, you don't have to be a super unicum or the best player on earth, but you should know just the basics of the game. But anyway, the Fuso is actually throwing some pretty close blind fires here, and Van actually got a torpedo, and that is a torp and a flood. So this Fuso, he's going to die unless the clock runs out. So you guys will be the judge. Pause the video, comment now. Does the Fuso flood out, or does the clock run out? We will determine that in approximately 10 seconds here. But Van playing this as well as he did, just a beautiful, beautiful total here. 5 kills, could have been 6 with the Normandy, probably even 7, and he literally just misses getting the kill on the Fuso for kill number 6 and potentially 7 if he would have got that Normandy. But a Kraken, solo warrior, high caliber dev strike, and a beautiful game in the Monaghan. I will say, like I think I said earlier, Van was absolutely robbed on XP, only 2,900, but he literally took his team by the bootstraps and said, I'm getting you this win. So GG's, Van, thank you for allowing me this replay. He had a few decent scores, and his Aoba is one of them, but over 1,000 above that. So just a good game and a beautiful example of situational awareness and, doing your job in a destroyer. Hope you guys enjoyed that one, Van. Make sure you comment. GG's, buddy. AA run out. Peace.